you've been around a lot of outstanding racehorses. And I know there's a portion of our audience saying, wait a minute, he just called him a super horse. He got beat in the Wood Memorial, and he got beat in the King's Bishop. How good is this colt?
Well, I think his 2-year-old year was as good as any 2-year-old there's ever been. And figure-wise, you can back that up. But the Wood Memorial, you could tell after the race he wasn't right. And you know, leading up to the Derby, we just never could get him right. And I think what he did the other day, I've had more people come up to me and congratulate me on his effort, to be honest with you, than Stay Thirsty's. And poor Stay Thirsty wins the Travers, and he still gets Uncle Mo gets beat, and he still gets put on the back shelf. But no, I know that his capabilities are at the highest level, and so, you know, we'll see. Hopefully we can prove that out with the next 2 starts.
And finally from last Saturday, and we enjoyed having Jack Wolf and Don Lucarelli on the show, Hilda's Passion in the Grade 1 Ballerina. She is number 3 in here. She got a couple of breaks early on when Stan Huff's filly stumbled, and Dale Roman's filly, we still don't know exactly what happened, but boy did Hilda's Passion run big here.
Well, I think when she's on her game, she's just so fast that she kind of runs everyone off their feet, and she broke cleanly. Like you said, we got a lucky break for us when Tar Heel Mom didn't get away cleanly and Sassy's Image bolted. But I think we saw the real Hilda's Passion, and I think anybody was going to have trouble running with her, even on their best days. She just kind of ran everyone off their feet as she had been doing most of the spring and summer. So we were pleased to get her back on track and see the kind of performance she's capable of.
Unfortunately, she comes out of this monster effort with an injury. Please update the audience. What happened to her, and what's going on with her at present?
Well, it's strange, to have a filly run that well, and then, an hour later she had some inflammation in her right front ankle and was favoring it. We took an x-ray, which revealed a non-displaced condylar fracture of the cannon bone. Fortunately, it was a pretty minor fracture. She's had surgery in Kentucky since then. The fracture line compressed very well with a couple of screws. Dr. Bramlage is optimistic that she can return to racing should Starlight and the Glasscocks choose to do that. So, we got about 60 days to kind of follow the progress of the surgery, and we'll see how that goes. But right now, I think there's a good chance we'll see her again.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful news. Okay, that was last Saturday, a pair of Grade 1s and a tough beat in the King's Bishop. This afternoon, a trio of Grade 1 stakes. We'll begin with the Woodward, where you have Mission Impassable and Rule. Mission Impassable off a very game second in the Stephen Foster. 7-1 in the Whitney. Not much of a factor that day. What happened?
He it was a strange Whitney, and I think the surface had something to do with it. It was a pedestrian Whitney and a really demanding track, which I don't think he got over very well. I thought he trained very well early in the meet when the track was a little more glib, and he's trained well since then. So to me, it's just kind of a cross that race out and try again, regroup kind of effort. And I can't see any reason why he ran as poorly other than just the surface itself.
And Rule, he's been a little bit unlucky this year not to have won until his last race here over the track in the Birdstone. Obviously, he's going to be facing much better horses later this afternoon. Can he move it up a notch or two? I
think he can. He's shown in races like the Don early in the year that he's right on the cusp of fitting with the top level horses. I think the race he ran here indicates that he likes the track, that he's able to get the mile and an eighth, and I really like the way he's trained since then. So, if there's no horse in here that's going to run a off-the-charts race, then I think, both of our horses have a big chance to be right there.
What you're facing flat out, who Scooter Dickey's done a terrific job, and he ran a bang-up second in the Whitney, and you're facing a wonderful filly in Havre de Grace. What do you think about those two horses?
Well, I think they're clearly the two horses to beat, and I agree flat out. Probably ran a huge race in the Whitney, considering there was no pace to run at, and he closed from well back. And the Havre de Grace is a remarkable filly, and I wouldn't be surprised if she's the favorite in here. And certainly based on the strength of her races and her numbers, she's the horse to beat.
The Forgo at 7/8. Let's begin with the Turf to Dirt, Sydney's Candy. Why the Forgo?
Well, this is a horse that's very versatile. He's won on dirt, turf, synthetic. He was purchased by WinStar as a stallion prospect, and we feel like, a race like this could really add to his already impressive resume. Horse has been training very well, and we think the 7/8 is a good distance for him.
His only win on dirt was an off-the-turf Sir Beaufort at Santa Anita. Going 7/8 here, they're going to leave that gate and they're going to go. Does he have the natural speed at 7/8 to stay in touch early?
I think he'll be close, and this race doesn't have quite as much speed on paper as a lot of the foregos might have on, on certain years. I would have preferred if he could have drawn a little further outside to kind of get away and be in a stalking position and not have much pressure, but from post 2, we'll have to let him run away from there a little bit and just kind of see how quick he is that first 1/8 of a mile.
When he ran in the 4-star Dave here, I and a lot of other people, because he was about 30 cents to the dollar, thought he laid over that field. Now, he beat him, but it wasn't one of those wow performances. What are your thoughts on his 4-star Dave?
It just didn't set up to be a wow performance. The thing that I was wowed by was the fact that he went as slow as he did the first part. He relaxed so well. It was almost relaxed too well. I think he kind of coasted along so much that he left everybody in the race. And, he's able to outsprint him the last part, but it's just one of those races when they go that slowly the first part, it's kind of hard to look brilliant.
What have you and Elliott Walden discussed Breeders' Cup-wise for Sydney's Candy? Because as you said, he's so diverse. Are you pinpointing a particular race? Is it the mile on turf against Goldie Kova? Is it the dirt mile? What are you looking at?
Well, I think this race should help clarify that. Could we see a brilliant enough performance that he goes in the sprint, the mile dirt, the mile turf, even the classic? He's one of those horses that just does everything. So I think this race should hopefully clarify everything for us.
Also, Aconite, who was a bit disappointing over the racetrack in the James Marvin.
It was, until you look at kind of the rags and numbers and stuff. I think that race was exceptionally strong, and I think that race should be graded next year. It's just gotten stronger and stronger each year. It's almost the forego run twice. So it wasn't as bad as it looked on paper, and I think the one thing that we made a mistake was we had him a little too close to the pace. I think he's a horse that really wants to just settle, regardless of the pace scenario, and make one run.
And finally, the personal ensign, and without blind luck in Havre de Grace, this is a really, really soft grade 1. You've got Super Espresso, a distant second over the track in the Ruffian. Your thoughts?
Well, I think the 1.25 miles should be right in her wheelhouse. We look forward to getting an opportunity to run her that far. She's trained really well. We had to wait the week because of Hurricane Irene, and she actually came back with a really, really good breeze on Tuesday. So I think she's coming up to this really well.
Unfortunately, one runner we won't see over closing weekend is your very exciting 2-year-old Overdriven. Please update our audience. What's his status? What's going on with him?
Well, I was just not comfortable with the way he was training earlier in the meet, and after Sanford, we were pointing for the hopeful. Just he wasn't moving the way he was moving into the Sanford. We couldn't find anything wrong with him. We did a battery of tests here and never really came up with anything. So we sent him to New Bolton for a nuclear scan, and he's just showing basically some immaturity in his ankles, hind ankles specifically. And Mike and I talked about it and said, let's give him every chance to be a good 3-year-old, get that time out of the way now. Hopefully, everything will be on schedule for Gulfstream. So it's disappointing because I think he's a really precocious, mature 2-year-old, but he's giving us some warning signs that we needed to be careful, so we're taking our time.
Well, Todd, as always, thank you so much for having joined us this morning on Down the Stretch. We appreciate it very much. All congratulations on an outstanding meet.